Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and you may or may not have knew that Russia, Putin, has just issued another peace offer term and conditions to Ukraine through this panel talk thingy where he spoke for 1 hour plus. And because he spoke for 1 hour plus, we definitely not going to listen to 1 hour of Putin lecture because it is crazy to go through that. But I have actually prepared, especially it's in Russian. I've prepared a series, the clips coming. These are clips that is shared by TACC or TSS Task, the Russian agency, news agency. So they put it in their Telegram channels. I've downloaded this and I've used AI to convert to English dubbing. So we're gonna hear Putin speak in English, so everybody can just listen and understand it easier. And I have not really listened to all this in a full detail. So we're all gonna listen together, and I'm gonna have live reaction to whatever he said. I have prepared the most significant part first, which is the peace term. In the beginning first, then we'll go into all the other geopolitical stuff that he talks about. The one later. So the people who are more interested in the peace deal, or whatever, you guys can listen and then get lost. No, just joking. Okay, so we're gonna play this first. So this is the conditions that Putin is going to give to Ukraine.
Our conditions for starting such a conversation are simple and are as follows. Ukrainian troops should be fully withdrawn from the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. And I want to emphasize, from all over the territories of these regions within their administrative borders that existed at the time they joined Ukraine, as soon as Kyiv announces that it is ready for such a decision and begins the actual withdrawal of troops from these regions, also officially notified of the abandonment of plans to join NATO. From our side immediately, literally at that very moment, there will be an order to cease fire and start negotiations. To reiterate, we will do this immediately. Naturally, at the same time, we guarantee the unhindered and safe withdrawal of Ukrainian units and formations. We, of course, would like to hope for such a decision and the withdrawal of troops, and about the non-aligned status, and about the start of a dialogue with Russia, on which the future existence of Ukraine depends. In Kyiv will be accepted independently, based on the current realities and guided by the genuine national interests of the Ukrainian people, not by Western orders. Although there are, of course, great doubts about this. Our conditions.
This is the main term of the peace deal. Oh my God, Putin looks so scary. Oh, okay. We look at these people. So the main gist is that Russia is going to offer again to Ukraine peace deal, but this time round is based on the annexation of the oblast that Russia have already officially annexed. So the Ukrainian troops are supposed to withdraw from Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and Luhansk entirely, and Russia will allow them to withdraw safely, and then they negotiate. But first, so this entire process will start with Ukraine agreeing with these terms first. So once Ukraine will accept these terms, they will cease fire and allow the Ukrainian troops to withdraw from the 4 oblasts. I believe this is like a last choice, I would guess. I mean, last chance, not last choice, last chance for Ukraine, because there is a consequence to what comes later. If Ukraine rejects this, then Russia will continue to capture more grounds. I think this is an excuse for Russia to start capturing more ground if Ukraine rejects this deal. So this term is actually a bit hard to take for the Ukrainians. So clearly the grounds that the Russians have already conquered, Ukraine can't get it back. It's clear by now that with the massive counteroffensive last year failing so badly, is already claimed militarily. Ukraine, without NATO entering the war, they can't take back the ground. However, the demands now from Russia requires Ukraine to withdraw from the rest of Donetsk, the rest of Kherson, and the rest of Zaporizhia, which is going to be very hard pill for Ukraine to take. But it will ensure Ukraine still exists as a country. However, this country will be laden by debt, and it's going to be a failed state, unfortunately, So my opinion is Ukraine will going to reject this deal for sure, 100%, because based on the rhetorics and the actions taken by the West, the actions taken by Ukraine, the F-16s that is going to come, the mass production of ammunition, and the amount of political capital that has been invested into the Ukraine war by all the various Western countries, it is nearly impossible for Ukraine to just surrender these 4 countries and just give in to the war. So I believe the war will continue. And I believe Russia will use this as an excuse to start to capture, to annex more grounds. And we might see expanded operation, maybe the expansion of the Kharkiv front, maybe a introduction of the Sumy front as well. Who knows? Or a reactivation of the Zaporizhia front into a major offensive area. There could be a lot of possibility that the Russians can conduct. And for those that are pro-Ukrainians, and maybe you're new to this channel, maybe you have been watching a lot or reading a lot from all the other sources that is clearly supportive of Ukraine or anti-Russia. I have been covering this war every single day since day one. Ukraine is losing this war. Clearly, they have never had a chance. It's just that now, materially speaking, they just can't win this war at all. There's just no way unless NATO enters war. So if you have heard other stuff from other places thinking that, the Russians have already lost all their best troops, lost all their best weapons, then clearly you need better Russian propaganda. You have not been up to date to the latest situation in Russia. Russia have basically refurbishing all the units with the latest weapons, the newest tanks, the newest BMPs, and then they have even changed their military doctrines. Now they have added Lancet as a standard unit. They are probably building a lot of Terminators to become permanent units, as well as TOS-1A, the thermobaric missiles. And all these developments, if you reflect it on the Ukrainian side, they have none of all these things. So it's important to put into perspective. You may be very biased to you really don't want Russia to win, or you have you are European and then you feel very threatened by Russia. Yes, I mean I understand. But I'm in Singapore. I feel very threatened by China too. But the reality is that this war cannot be won unless you want a greater war. Then maybe you have a chance to win. But at what cost? I don't know, because Russia have already won. NATO entering war would very easily go nuclear. So it is what it is. So this peace deal is probably very generous in a way from the perspective of the Russians. But clearly the Russians have not conquered the rest of Donetsk. They only have half of it. They only have half of Zaporizhia, maybe not half, maybe a bit more than half, and a bit more than half of Kherson. So you can also look at from the Ukrainian perspective that this is totally unfair because Russia haven't even proved themselves to be able to conquer all these grounds. Then we shall see. By the end of this year, we shall see what the front lines like. So Ukraine is depending purely on Western support for its military needs. Not just military needs, the payment for the entire government, the payment for all your pension. This disrupted European markets through the forced exportation of Ukrainian stuff into Europe to pay for all these things that they are getting from Europe. So it's not a small thing. Ukraine is desperate. So it's not so sunshine and rainbow, unfortunately. So this following clip is the follow-up, the last video clip from this session, which is Russia's warning about this peace deal?
Today we are making another concrete, real peace proposals. If Kyiv and Western capitals continue to reject them as before, in the end, that's their business. Their political and moral responsibility for continuing the bloodshed. Obviously, the realities on the ground at the line of contact will continue to change, not in favor of the Kyiv regime. And the conditions for starting negotiations will be different.
So this is Putin giving the warning that the situation is going to change. Wow, this looks so artistic. The situation is going to change. Russia will continue to move forward. So he have gave the warning, and I call this an excuse. So an excuse to legitimize conquering more land in Ukraine. So it's going to be I know it's really gonna it's a hard place for Ukraine. There is no win regarding all these things. So Ukraine just have to decide if this is a good deal or not. So we're going to go into the geopolitical side. For those that are only interested in this part of the peace deal and whatnot, you can leave now. I mean, it's 11 minutes. It's pretty long time. So thank you for staying all this while. And for those that are more giga chats, we'll go into the geopolitics. This video probably going to go a bit long. But I will try to reduce my commentary. We'll just watch more about what Putin actually said. So the next one is talking about the world is changing.
The world is changing rapidly. It won't be the same as before, neither in global politics, nor in the economy, nor in technological competition. More and more states are striving to strengthen sovereignty, self-sufficiency, and national and cultural identity. Countries of the global south and east are coming to the forefront, and the role of Africa and Latin America is growing. We've always talked about the importance of these regions since Soviet times. But today the dynamics are completely different. This is becoming noticeable. The pace has noticeably accelerated. Transformations in Eurasia, where a number of large-scale integration projects are actively being implemented, precisely based on the new political and economic reality. Today, a concussion is forming. Multipolar and multilateral world order.
So this is a reality. I think this is basically the reality of the reality of the situation now in the global world, where the failure of the Biden's administration has basically accelerated the destruction of the hegemony of the West, particularly the United States, and the multipolar world has appeared way faster than I have expected. So multipolarism is now the norm, and you can literally see it from the increasing number of conflicts and wars around the world. You can see it in Sudan, you can see it in Palestine. So wars are going to become a bit more common, in my opinion, because the United States has lost its ability to stop people from fighting. So nobody cares about what they think anymore. So the next one is about the international discussion about the parameters of interaction. There's some weird translation. Wait. So let me drop this link.
We are interested in seeing this dialogue develop seriously within the walls of the UN, including on such a basic, vital topic for everyone as creating an indivisible security system. In other words, the assertion in world affairs of the principle that the security of some cannot be ensured at the expense of others. I would like to remind you in this regard that at the end of the 20th century, after the end of the acute military ideological confrontation, the world community, there was a unique chance to build a reliable, just order in the field of security. It did not require much for this, just the simple ability to listen to the opinions of all interested parties, mutual willingness to consider them. Our country was precisely focused on such constructive work. However, another approach prevailed. Western powers led by the USA considered that they won the Cold War and have the right to decide on their own how to properly arrange the world. a practical expression of such a worldview. The project of unlimited expansion of the North Atlantic bloc in space and time began. Although there were, of course, other ideas on how to ensure security, but our fair questions were met with excuses like nobody is planning to attack Russia and NATO expansion is wise, not aimed against Russia. About the promises made, the Soviet Union and then Russia in the late 80s and early 90s about not adding new members to the bloc. Calmly forgotten.
So yeah. So basically this is about the expansion of NATO, how the West isn't really interested in world peace. They just want control, and they are ultimately entirely antagonistic against Russia. So I think there's nothing to argue about this. Clearly reality, the truth. And now he talks about the Western security arrangement.
Western countries being sure not only even in their own righteousness but also in their power, the ability to impose anything on the rest of the world, simply ignored other opinions. At the best, they planned to discuss secondary issues that essentially resolved little or topics that were beneficial only for. Meanwhile, quite quickly, it became clear the Western model has been declared the only right one for ensuring security and prosperity. In Europe and the world, this is actually true. Let's remember the tragedy in the Balkans. Internal problems, of course, they exist. They accumulated in the log. The arguments sharply escalated due to rough external intervention. Even then, the main principle of diplomacy in its true form emerged. Deeply flawed and futile in resolving complex internal conflicts. Namely, to accuse one of the parties for some reasons. I really like to blame everything on it and unleash all the political, informational, and military power, economic sanctions and restrictions. Later, the same approaches were applied in different parts of the world. We know this very well. Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, and so on, they never brought anything but worsening of existing problems anywhere. Broken destinies of millions of people, the destruction of entire states, the proliferation of humanitarian and social disasters, terrorist enclaves. In essence, no country in the world is immune from joining this sad list.
So you may hear some weird voices. Those are like the ghosts of the AI. That's just part of the AI. I'm not sure what kind of words that they caught from where. Maybe it's just ghost. Putin's ghost is talking. So anyway, yeah, I think this is continuing the rant on NATO, on the West, creating troubles around the world and their hypocrisy. I think also nothing really to argue about. So now he's gonna the next clip is gonna be talking about the degradation of the relationship between Russia and the West.
The selfishness and arrogance of Western states have led to the current extremely dangerous state of affairs. We approached unacceptably close to the point of no return. The calls to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia, which has the largest arsenal of nuclear weapons, demonstrate the boundless adventurism of Western leaders. They either don't understand the scale of the threat they themselves create, or they don't understand, or simply obsessed with a belief in their own impunity and in their own exceptionalism. Both can end in tragedy. System crash. Today it simply does not exist. It needs to be practically recreated from scratch. All this requires, together with our partners and all interested countries, and there are quite a few, work out our options for ensuring security in Eurasia, then propose them for wide international discussion. Such an instruction was given in the address to the Federal Assembly. It's about formulating the outline of equal and indivisible security on the Eurasian continent in the foreseeable future. Mutually beneficial, equal cooperation and development.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I have no idea. Yeah.
Tensions are rising everywhere, and we constantly see how interconnected and interdependent the world is. And the tragic example for all of us is the Ukrainian crisis, whose consequences are felt around the globe. But I want to say right away, the crisis related to Ukraine is not a conflict between two countries, especially not caused by two peoples, with some problems between them, if that were the case. Yes, there is no doubt that Russians and Ukrainians share a common history and culture, spiritual values. Millions of familial, and human connections would have found a way. It is fair to regulate any issues and disagreements, but things are different. The roots of the conflict are not in bilateral relations. The event in Ukraine is a direct result of global and European developments at the end of the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century. That aggressive, brazen, and absolutely reckless policy that the West has been pursuing all these years long before the special military operation began.
So, yeah, I'm not going to add much. I'm just going to let you continue to listen.
As for the United States itself, the constant attempts by the liberal globalist elites currently in power to spread their ideology around the world by any means possible. So, imperial status, dominance, only further depletes the country, leading it to degradation, is in clear contradiction with the true interests of the American people. If not for this dead-end path, aggressive messianism mixed with belief in one's own, the exceptionalism and uniqueness in international relations would have been stabilized long ago.
So the next clip, all this ranting, I have nothing much to say. You can disagree or agree. It doesn't really matter. The reality is the war has already broken out. So the next clip is going to talk about the US dollar, or the Western economic system.
There is already growing distrust in the financial system based on Western reserve currencies. There has been an outflow of funds from securities and debt obligations of Western states, as well as some European banks that were recently considered absolutely reliable places to store capital. Well, that's the right thing to do. I believe we need to seriously step up the formation of effective and safe bilateral and multilateral foreign economic mechanisms, alternative topics controlled by the West. This includes the expansion of settlements in national currencies, creating independent payment systems, and establishing production and household chains as a bypass, channels blocked or compromised by the West.
So this is pretty important. So this is one of the things that we have at DPA as well as the wider DPA community we have been discussing a lot about, and which is the possible reserve currency by BRICS. And with this statement, it looks like there won't be a separate reserve currency. They are just going to create a mechanism for trade using national currencies. There may be some problems with coming to this, because the trade balance between different countries may not always be the same, especially relating to China, where they have a massive trade imbalance with many countries. With Russia, I think it's still not that bad, but I think with many other countries, you may still need a third currency to help to do this trading. So it could be a case where they may be using one of the 5 main currencies in the BRICS. It could be like the Brazilian money currency, the Russian rubles, Chinese yuan, and I'm not sure if people want South African money, but yeah, and Indians rupees. It could be a mix. It could be interchangeable. Depends. So I'm not sure how they're going to arrange this yet. This statement of of intention has been repeated quite a number of times, but I think they have not announced anything yet. I think even they have a plan, they would not announce prematurely until they have established the mechanism and the infrastructure or the no to do all these things. Because if you announce too early, then the chance of sabotage will be much higher. So I think BRICS is definitely in the middle of a secret operation, for sure. And with Saudi Arabia on their side, from my understanding, I saw, I think, not sure, another YouTube video or something, or article, I think YouTube video, I think by Tim Pool. I think it's on Teamcast IRL. So what happened is that the Saudis arrangement with the United States, the treaty is not renewed. The treaty of Saudi Arabia selling oil only in US dollars. This treaty is apparently not renewed. So it's surprising. I think what I gathered from that podcast was that the Saudis did not want to renew it. I think it's not the other way around. It's not Biden's administration not doing it, but it's just Saudi didn't want to do it. So it could be something to do with whatever Putin is now saying. So that's why they wanted Saudi in BRICS. I think because Saudi is a financial giant, financial economic giant in the global affairs because of the amount of oil that they are selling. So we shall see. It's going to be a very chaotic next 6 months. So the next clip is going to be about the Minsk agreement.
The Minsk agreements were signed in 2015. We took it very seriously. We hoped to resolve the situation within the framework of the peace process and international law. They hoped this would consider legitimate interests and the demands of Donbass to enshrine a special status for these regions and the fundamental rights of the people living.
Is that Black Widow? That looks like Black Widow.
There in the constitution, while preserving the territorial unity of Ukraine. We were ready for this and were ready to persuade people living in these territories to solve issues in this manner. Various compromises and solutions were proposed more than once, but everything was ultimately rejected. The Minsk agreements were simply discarded by Kiev, as was later openly. Ukrainian leaders confessed that they were not satisfied with any of these. One of the articles of these documents, they just lied and twisted things as much as they could. Former Chancellor of Germany and former President of France, actual co-authors and sort of guarantors of the Minsk agreements, wróć państwo mnie także, they directly admitted that their execution was not even planned. They just needed to talk up the situation to buy time to build up Ukrainian armed forces and to equip them with weapons and machinery. They just fooled us again.
So the part about the Western leaders, particularly of Germany, admitting that they never take Minsk agreement seriously is true. It's true. So after this is actually the clip of the peace terms, which I will play again for those that want to listen to it again.
Our conditions for starting such a conversation are simple and are as follows. Ukrainian troops should be fully withdrawn from the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. And I want to emphasize from all over the territories of these regions within their administrative borders that existed at the time they joined Ukraine. As soon as Kyiv announces that it is ready for such a decision and begins the actual withdrawal of troops from these regions, also officially notified of the abandonment of plans to join NATO. From our side immediately, literally at that very moment.
So important to know is that Ukraine need to abandon the plan to join NATO. So clearly, the Ukraine today is not ready to make such a decision. So I don't think it's gonna happen. And yeah. But the key thing is that once Ukraine agrees to all these terms, ceasefire will be immediate. So that's what Putin has offered.
Will be an order to cease fire and start negotiations. To reiterate, we will do this immediately. Naturally, at the same time, we guarantee the unhindered and safe withdrawal of Ukrainian units and formations. We, of course, would like to hope for such a decision and the withdrawal of troops, and about the non-aligned status, and about the start of a dialogue with Russia, on which the future existence of Ukraine depends. In Kyiv will be accepted independently.
So that's a threat. The future of Ukraine will be decided. That is a threat, in case you didn't catch it.
Based on the current realities and guided by the genuine national interests of the Ukrainian people, not by Western orders. Although there are, of course, great doubts about this.
Yeah.
Today we are making another concrete, real peace proposals. If Kyiv and Western capitals continue to reject them as before, in the end, that's their business. Their political and moral responsibility for continuing the bloodshed. Obviously, the realities on the ground at the line of contact will continue to change, not in favor of the Kyiv regime. And the conditions for starting negotiations will be different.
Yep. So that's about it, I guess. Other than the fact that Putin's hair is really, he really did a very flat, make it really flat, but he doesn't look bald. No, so I think that's interesting. So anyway, yeah. So this is the English dub with Putin's accent, or way of speech, of his latest terms to Ukraine, as well as his worldview, the geopolitical views, of what he thinks about the West economic system, the history and whatnot. So thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and yeah, we will talk more about it on DPA Open Mic. I'll see you guys in the next update.